The financial impact is something that we've also considered and causes us great concern.
Should businesses stay open or closed on Sundays? I'm Maya Constantino in Salt Lake City. The company Nothing Bundt Cakes enforced a corporate mandate recently that says franchises in Utah must remain open on Sundays. The owner of the franchises spoke out against the mandate that has now sparked a dispute in our community. Sundays have always meant a lot to owner Kelsey Hunt. As a mother of three, she considers it a day to spend time with her family, and more importantly, a holy day.
Truly, it is for us a day of worship. And so it goes against our values and our faith of preserving that day and what it means to us by opening and operating on those days.
And back in 2018, when Hunt decided to take over the franchises in Utah, she says they weren't required to open on Sundays.
So that was one of the things that we spent a great deal of time going over with the corporate leadership during that meeting, and something we felt very strongly about in working with Nothing Bundt Cakes.
Hunt says about 2 years ago, she noticed the corporation started to encourage Utah franchises to open on Sundays.
They started just suggesting it as like would be something to consider as individual bakeries, knowing that it wasn't a requirement in our operations manual at the time.
Then, last summer, she noticed a change.
Notification was sent out. The operations manual in 2024 was updated to then require Sundays.
And she says that mandate requires them to open on Sundays starting on February 2nd. Hunt reached out to Representative Ken Ivory about the issue. In early January, he introduced a bill that, according to a news release, would ensure franchises have the assurance that their religious rights and convictions are not infringed unless such stipulation was expressly negotiated and included in the initial franchise agreement. Hunt says Utah bakeries sent a request to Nothing Bundt Cakes Corporate asking for a delay in the mandate because of the pending legislation, but have not received a response. Nothing Bundt Cakes said in a statement, "We communicated the importance of being open all week long to our entire franchise system over a year ago. This provided them with time to prepare and is consistent with our franchise agreements." Salt Lake Community College will host a meeting to discuss Representative Ken Ivory's bill Tuesday evening. In Salt Lake City, Maya Constantino, Fox 13 News, Utah.
What's also interesting about this video is the fact that we are discussing Sunday legislation, and all through the bakery, we see sunflowers. Again, all through this bakery, sunflower cakes, all through this bakery, while we are discussing a Sunday law bill. Could it get more obvious that we are on the verge of a national Sunday law? And I do expect for this bill to pass because of the influences that Latter-day Saints have in Utah and the headquarters being there. I would not be surprised by any means should this bill make it through the House and then through the Senate and become legislation. And since we're talking about sunflowers and sunshine, notice the Sunshine Protection Act would make daylight saving time the national year-round standard. Introduced by Rick Scott and Marco Rubio. Many of you know Rubio's been trying to get this passed for a number of years. This act would lock the clock and end the twice yearly time change and make daylight saving time the national year-round standard. Many of you know that daylight savings time is scheduled to begin this coming Sunday in the morning at 2 a.m. So basically Saturday night into Sunday morning, 2 a.m. is when it is scheduled to begin. So we may see legislation before this coming Sunday. We'll see what happens. Or it may be sometime in the future, but they have been seeking to get this bill passed for many years. In recent years, it did pass in the Senate, but did not pass in the House. Trump is in favor of this bill, the Sunshine Protection Act. So it's possible now, because both houses are controlled by the Republican Party, we could see the Sunshine Protection Act passed, which would affect when Sabbath begins. And so not having to change the clock would be convenient, but also obviously if the sun sets earlier, then you need to get ready for the Sabbath earlier. Hence the reason getting off of work on Friday by noon is ideal so that you can make the necessary preparation for the Sabbath. And the mere fact that we see that laws are being pushed, bills are being pushed that will affect the time for Sabbath, we know a Sunday law is imminent. Notice the headline here. It says Lawmakers advance bill that could close more Utah stores on Sundays, other religious days. It says the Utah House is weighing a bill aimed at protecting franchises from opening on religious holidays or days of worship when doing so would be at odds with an owner's sincerely held religious beliefs. Sponsored by Representative Ken Ivory, Republican, and a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, would expand on an initial proposal outlined in a news release that focused exclusively on protecting franchises from having to operate on Sundays. The measure would not affect existing contracts. If passed as is, however, companies no longer would be able to require franchisees to accept amendments to their contracts demanding operation on religious days. They would also be barred from making opening on religious days a requirement for those looking to renew an operation agreement. So, in other words, we see the Latter-day Saints or Christians utilizing the state to pass laws in favor of them to be able to own a franchise, and also allowing them to be able to have their business closed on Sunday. So this Sunday law is currently under examination in the House in the state of Utah. You know what happened in North Dakota. Many of you are familiar with that. That bill was shot down. But the likelihood of this one passing is highly likely because Utah is the headquarters for the Latter-day Saints, and they have a lot of influence there in the state of Utah because of that being the headquarters for the Church of Latter-day Saints. So understand that apostate Protestants are using the state to enforce their decrees. We are seeing an image to the beast. This is the union of church and state, and the fulfillment of the third angel, which warns concerning the mark of the beast. What is the mark of the beast? It is when Sunday is enforced by law. So here we're seeing the movements within the states, and this is the second state to bring a bill regarding Sunday legislation in this calendar year of 2025. Showing that we are one step closer to the close of probation for Seventh-day Adventists. Now, earlier I used the phrase apostate Protestants. Why do I say that? Because they are no longer protesting against Rome. That's what a Protestant does. They protest the abuses, the sins, the apostasies of the Roman Catholic Church as God has prophesied it in Revelation 17, calling her the mother of all harlots and abominations of the earth, Mystery Babylon, and the beast of prophecy who devours the youth, we see the pedophilia, devours the flock through financial means and false teachings. So America truly is forming an image to the beast. Bible prophecy is fulfilling, and what Seventh-day Adventists have been preaching for over 100 years is fulfilling before our eyes. Now notice what the article goes on to say. It says, the bill advanced last week by the House Business, Labor, and Commerce Committee in an 8-3 vote currently carves out exceptions for two industries: hotels and car dealerships. The reason I wanted to read that is because notice the majority were in favor of this Sunday bill. The majority were in favor of this Sunday law. We'll see what happens in the state of Utah. Very interesting as we see Bible prophecy fulfilling before our eyes. Let us be about our Father's business. Let us share the Sabbath truth with those who know it not, so that they can understand that the true Sabbath is Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, so that they do not bow to the image of Babylon. the image of the beast. Why do I say the image of Babylon? Well, what was Nebuchadnezzar turned into? He was turned into a beast. And what did he do? He implemented a law that led everyone to bow down to an image. And that history America is repeating by enforcing a law that is contrary to God's law by legislating Sunday when the Word of God says the true Sabbath is Saturday. What day will you worship on? Will you join with Christ in worshiping on the true Sabbath, Friday sunset to Saturday sunset? Or will you join the beast power in honoring Sunday?